today. This is our second VACT webinar about empowering women in water. This year, we are collaborating with the Retouch Nexus project, which is also the EU-funded project. My name is Milica. I am Dissemination and Communication Manager at VACT, and today I will do my best to be a good host to all of you and to guide you through the webinar. So, what you can expect today. We have three main parts of the webinar. Firstly, just after me, you will hear a presentation about our project. Then we will hear our keynote speakers. After that, we decided to give space for a bit discussion about the topics a keynote speaker talked, but also some challenges. And after that, you can expect the Q&A. In roundtable discussion and Q&A discussion, please feel free to join us, to write in the comments if you want to tell us a bit more about the topic, because I also saw some really good experts registered for the webinar as well. So, as I said, after me, you will hear the presentation about VACT project. And who didn't know, VACT is actually a female-led project. So our coordinator, Yingshui Huang, is leading it, I can say, seamlessly and coordinating everything to go as a flow. After that, you will hear our keynote speakers. Firstly, you will be introduced with 2030 gender concept for water sector of the Republic of Uzbekistan, presented by Dinara Zikhanshina. Then we will hear about Kyrgyzstan gender equality strategies in water sector. That will be presented by Merim Sedakova. And after that, we will hear some experience from India to Europe, water management as a door opener for female empowerment by Lily of den Brinke. I'm really, really sorry if some of those names and surnames I didn't pronounce correctly. And yeah, I'm sorry if my voice broke in one moment because I'm a bit sick. Okay, without further ado, I will give a floor to our coordinator to tell us more about VACT project.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you all for joining this very inspiring webinar. So as VACT coordinator, I would like first to introduce a little bit about our project, but also of some of our female partners in the project. So VACT is founded by EU and is about a climate-sensitive decision support system for water allocation in the Sudaya River Basin in Central Asia. My name is Yingshui Huang. I'm a coordinator of the project. I'm a postdoc at the chair of hydrology and river basin management at Technical University of Munich. So just a few words about VACT. It's the overall goal of the project to demonstrate a decision support system for water allocation in Central Asia, transboundary river basins, basically the Sudaya River Basin and Upper Sudaya River Basin. We're covering two countries, which is Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. You can see also our participants from these two countries. By demonstrating this DSS, we want to increase shared benefits and foster the adaptation of water resources management and planning to climate change. And here, the shared benefits and foster adaptation of water resource management also contain gender dimensions. You might hear also later on. I just want to take a few, 1 or 2 minutes to introduce the female partners working the project. Basically, you see in the middle here, we have Beate, me, and Vanessa, basically working on coordination and managing the project, 3 female leaders. And then we have on the left side, Gautami and Meadow from University of Twente. They are both PhD students. Gautami focus on water footprint assessment in our study catchment, and Meadow focuses on serious game and valuing water in this transboundary river basin setting. And then we have Philippine, who is the lady behind decision supports, behind the data warehouse, also behind the decision support system. And we have Miriam, and she is our speaker also today. She helps with the hardcore monitoring of hydrometeorological stations in Central Asia. And also Nevada helping us with the stakeholder engagement, especially in this transboundary context. And of course, on the right side, you see three ladies from Innocence who also organized this webinar today. They are our dissemination partners who are very creative and doing a lot of good promotion for our project. So yeah, thank you all and all the female partners in our project. And then I would also like to share this photo with you. In the middle, you see a lady, and she is Dr. Dinara Thingashina. She's our advisory board member, and she's a water professional in the region. And she's truly a role model for me, who is working basically in a very man-dominated sector in Central Asia. So I would really appreciate her presentation today and listening to more of her introduction of the gender aspects in Uzbekistan. And another photo I would like to share, you see on the right side, that is Miriam. As I said, that she is helping us with the monitoring, hardcore monitoring in even high elevated areas. And this is a photo taken after they went to a construction market in Kyrgyzstan and bought some steel. And so I really like this photo to show the power of female also in hardcore work. And this photo, sorry, Lily, I don't have a photo together with you, but I show here a photo with Maria Rakali. She's a colleague of mine at TUM, and she's also the coordinator of the Retouch Nexus project. And that's a photo we've taken together in Valencia and Spain last year during the General Assembly. You see, she's really a role model for me in terms of project management and expert in Nexus. But she said that Lily is the gender dimension expert. Therefore, Lily is representing Retouch Nexus project today to talk about the gender dimension in Retouch Nexus project. So yeah, and a little bit personal, last year I got pregnant. I really like this photo, not only because that is me standing in the middle or in the front, but also I like this photo because it's showing a working pregnant colored woman and leading in an EU project. I'm very proud of myself in this picture, and I feel also extremely empowered, not only just being myself as a role model, but also just, you know, sometimes as women we feel frustrated fighting in this man-dominated world, but I like to think a little bit something bigger than myself, to get out of my ego. For example, if my work and my leadership can empower or inspire any other woman in this world, especially my female students at the university, then I feel extremely rewarding and powerful to continue my work. So I like that dimension in my work, and also want to share this message with you. And yeah, before my talk, I want to show this picture with you. Basically, last year, so me as the coordinator and our project manager, Beate, both got pregnant, and you saw that our our partners very kindly give us these two very lovely buddies with We Act logos and our core model components in this project. And now we are both mothers, and so Beate has a son, little Teal, and I have a daughter, little Hannah. And we met recently, and what I found extremely interesting is that at this age, the boy and the girl, they are like so unisex. They explore the world like just the same, and they are the same curious about the world and so on. So I hope that for my daughter or also for ourselves, we will have a future that women can equally working in any sector and a better future for our next generation. So in the end, in We Act, actually from our title, you already see We Act. I hope that we can be the change that we wish to see in this world as women. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to all the presentations later on today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chinshui. It was amazing and inspiring, and I think that was really really cute and positive start and introduction. And thank you for all the great words. I think that, yeah, I cannot do introduction of other presenters better than you. Right now, I would like us to jump straight to the keynote speaker session. First is someone that is, as Chinshui said, she is a really, I think, role model of the whole consortium of We Act, and it is Dr. Dinara Singanshina, Director of Scientific Information Center of the Interstate Commission for Water Coordination in Central Asia. She will tell us more about, I think, really innovative concept, 2030 gender concept for water sector of the Republic of Uzbekistan, because we usually see that the policies, especially in water, are usually gender blind. So some of these steps, I think, that are really important and pivotal in this age. So Dinara, the floor is yours. Please feel free to introduce yourself and tell us more about this topic.
Hello. I don't know if you can see my screen and hear me well.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to see you and happy to share what we've done last year with the partners in Uzbekistan on the gender mainstreaming in the water sector. I should tell you that it was kind of a quite long story when we start talking about the gender issues in water sector of Central Asia, and it started at least in 2004 and 5 when we had first session on gender mainstreaming for the water sector, and current Minister of Water was also present, and it was first conference in Central Asia when we discussed this issue. And I think all countries developed in different ways. And now, after almost 15 years, we reached the point when they were ready to put something on the paper. Even though in project activities and in different conferences and meetings and even in staffing of the ministry, at least in Uzbekistan, they would pay close attention to women representation. So the last year, it was initiative coming from the ministry. I don't know. Unfortunately I can. I can. With the help of a Swiss Development Cooperation Project on National Water Resources Management in Uzbekistan, the Ministry of Water Resources prepared in 2021 gender assessment in the water sector, which revealed the many problems, or not even problems, but the factual situation with the representation of women and in the different level of water management in Uzbekistan, and also in the leadership position in the water-related organizations. They also discussed different cultural differences and attitude and stereotypes towards the more involvement of women as water managers or as leading certain positions in the water sector, and especially on water management in the remote area and the basin area, because many people that were involved in this assessment was saying that it's not a really female job to stay during the night in water allocation, because the irrigation is mostly happening during the nights, as you know, to reduce evapotranspiration. And this work really requires not only a lot of strength or intelligence or something else, but also it requires your time during the night and during the out of office hours. So, and it's not quite safe for women to be engaged. And another area that they looked in this assessment, it's a low participation in technical, low representation in technical programs at the universities. But I should say that it's not always true. When we were writing this gender concept itself, we realized that many universities who is teaching water-related subject, including Irrigation Institute and University now in Tashkent, they increasingly involve the women also as a professional, as a teachers, but also as a students. And we had a lot of discussion in the group, actually, how attractive can be water-related education if the water sector itself is not that attractive for the employees in general, and irrespective whether women or men. It's the sector where it's not well paid and the career opportunity are also quite limited. So what would be fair for these people and women to attract and advocate for joining the water sector institutions in the water sector itself it's not the best place in terms of the salaries to work. So we had quite interesting discussion in this on this matter. But also it was a different assessments on the barriers in rural and technical fields that the women are faced with. So this study in 2021 recommended to create more favorable environment for addressing these gender-related issues in order to ensure access for women and girls to more information and more resources and more educational opportunities, and enhance the gender responsiveness in water-related reforms that were happening in Uzbekistan that time and still are. And after that, a Swiss Development Cooperation Project that I just mentioned helped Ministry of Water Resources to draft this gender concept. The difference between the gender concept and gender strategy is the concept, it's a more general document with a kind of initial or trial document to see how it will be operating, to develop further in some more specific strategy. And after many discussion, and actually to draw and to prepare this gender concept, Ministry of Water Resources established an intersectoral working group involving the women from the different agencies related to water and development partners who are working on the gender-related issues. And we were discussing what would be the scope of the gender concept and what would be the time frame for its development and for its operation. And since you all know, you're all very much engaged in water field, when you start talking about water, you start involving and engaging all possible spheres, starting from education, from sanitation, from hydromet, water quality, nature protection. So basically, as always, we had a huge list of everything that we have to cover in different levels, starting from the national level till the water users, because we said that how important is talk to people and go to the field and work with them. Yes, it's all very, very important things, but we thought for the first document that we developed and for the ministry to tackle with something new, we should make something tangible, practical, and implementable. So we decided that we are not working on drinking water supply, taking away all the sanitation and wastage water. We are not going into hydromet on water forecasting, etc. We were focusing on the water management system as a public administration done now by the Ministry of Water. We are not even going to the water user association level. It's basically touches upon some lowest level operation, but as long as it's within the limit of Ministry of Water. I understand that it's quite limited in terms of integrated water management, but we thought that it would be practical. And another reasoning for this approach was that in the Uzbekistan, it was different attempt to develop gender strategy in the energy sector, in agriculture sector, in the forestry, and some other areas. None of the strategy were adopted because it was too complicated and probably too broad and idealistic. So we wanted to have something very practical. So this is the second reasoning. And during the meetings of our intersectoral working group and talking to the partners, we all agreed that it will be a good starting point. And another thing that the ministry now is deciding, should it be signed and approved within the ministry as a ministerial strategy, or would they will be willing and ready to make it national-wide strategy and adopted by the cabinet of ministers? So what we think now, it would be more realistic to stay within the ministry because it's really kind of the scope, it's a ministry's matter. And in the countries, they also have the 2030 strategy for achieving gender equality in Uzbekistan, which basically deals with the all sectors. And this gender concept was essentially based on this strategy that was adopted by the parliament of the country and 2030 water sector concept. To align to these two documents and to see what activities envisaged in the water sector concept and how gender issue can be mainstreamed in this strategy and the concept. So with this very long background and explanation, let me turn to the content of this document that we have so far. So the main idea and main vision and the goal is to ensure equal rights and opportunities for both women and men in public administration and water management in Uzbekistan. Ensure that gender inclusive governance and project planning is happening, and provide better access to leadership, education, and decision-making roles for the women. There are 8 priority areas in the strategy aligned with these goals and tasks. So basically what it focuses on is on leadership and representation of women, including activities that might attract more female personnel at different level of water management. And we have a very practical steps in this respect in having included special register for the women and capacity building to attract them. And we also had a discussion with the minister how ensure the implementation of these measures. Because the request from the minister was that we have to do something very practical that can be done by the power and by the resources of the ministry. So I can promise that, for example, we will have some leadership position in all basin irrigation system administration. So I can do it by myself, not asking for extra budget from the Ministry of Finance. And so his concern was really, let's be ambitious, but let's be practical, because I don't see that additional funding coming from the state budget for this specific budget line on the gender mainstreaming. So let's try to make it within the budget that we have. And another area and priority area that this document focuses on better gender statistic, audit, analysis, and monitoring. And again, here we are very much aligned with the gender audit that it's conducted at the government level, at the national-wide level. Initially, we wanted to make the regular or like every year audit of the water sector. But after careful investigation, we realized that it's done by specially designated body in Uzbekistan and on rotational base through different ministries. So it will be like once per 3 or 5 years, each ministry will go through this process. And gender responsive budgeting, it's something that can be done within the ministry, but they also intend to involve more. And in our working group, we also had a representative from the Ministry of Economy and Finance, who also had extensive training on gender responsive budget. So Ministry of Finance and Economy are also working in this direction, and they also have some preparation in this regard. Inclusive planning and implementation of measures, programs, and projects. Basically, this area includes not only projects that Ministry is undertaking, but also implementing those measures that in the state program and strategies to be more inclusive in the planning process of women and men, different needs and different expectations of both women and men. In other areas, it's about education, professional development, and science. And here we were very much advised to have a mentorship programs, involve more young researchers, female young researchers in professional development courses, in internship programs, etc. And finally, two last areas deal with the awareness raising at the national level, working with the media and non-governmental organization. And the final area, it's more on international engagement, meaning working on international ranking of Uzbekistan on gender-related issue and on transboundary cooperation involving more female representative at the meetings of bilateral and multilateral commissions that Uzbekistan is part of. And key action, we have like 5 or 4 pages plan of the specific actions that will be taken by the ministry, but also development partners. We disseminated a list of table where we asked our development partners what they plan for the next 3 years on gender-related issues. So to include in this the joint plan with the ministry. And again, back to this issue of lack of extra budget and extra funding, we wanted to make sure that we at least align the program of actions by different actors who is working in the similar area issues into one program that will be approved by the ministry and will be implemented by the ministry. So several points that I wanted to mention. There is intention in the action plan to appoint gender coordinators in different units of water agencies, implement mentorship programs, training and awareness campaign, support women entrepreneurs and students, and enhance gender-sensitive statistics and reporting. And we also had International Asian Development Bank were also helping with the drafting the strategy, and they hired international consultant who helped us in reviewing the those draft of the concept and also drawing indicators and outcomes that can be monitored over the implementation of the concept. And I'm not going into all these detailed indicators, just wanted to tell you that the main outcomes that we expect by 2030 is the increased female leadership and participation. And here it's not only about the pure representation of women, but it's also about the professional and competence. So it's not about just make this gender balance when, I mean, many of you may know that you're just invited because you're a female in some panels or something just to blend this group, and it's not about that. We just really want to increase the competence and skills of women so they feel comfortable and fit into the position that they're taking at the ministries or other agencies and organizations. So it's more about the inclusiveness in the governance system and the strong education and self-confidence of women. And the concept will be coordinated and implemented by the Ministry of Water Management with a partnership with other ministries, including Ministry of Finance, Economy, and Environment, etc., local governments and non-governmental organizations. And I said it through the gender indicators. So by now, we submitted the final draft to the ministry and we're expecting their decisions. Hopefully, it will be approved quite soon. The main problem is that the leadership of the ministry these 2 months always on the field. You know that irrigation season starts, so they're all checking the situation in remote area of Uzbekistan, so it's just physically impossible to find the minister and talk to him and his deputies and make it sign. So this is all from my side. Sorry for being so long.
Thank you so much, Dinara. It was really valuable for all of us to hear it. And I hope that we will have more time during the roundtable discussion, maybe to elaborate on this and how it can be maybe even valuable to our project and what we can do to support. So all of you know, both Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan are target areas of the VIACT project. And about some aims in Kyrgyzstan about gender equality strategies in water sector, will tell us more about Merim Selmakatova, who is advisor at Portolan Association. Merim is not only partner of the VIACT project, but she's incredible young scientist, researcher, advisor that is also part of some female organization that are fighting for the same goal about equality in water. So Merim, the floor is yours. You can share with us more about the topic.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for introduction. Yeah. Is my screen visible? Oh, nice.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you, Melissa. Yes, I'm a water specialist working in as a IWRM advisor for the VIAC project at Portolan, and I'm also a member of the Women in Water Management Network in Central Asia and Afghanistan, as well as the Global Water Women in Water Diplomacy Network. Yeah, thank you, in a sense, for inviting and bringing up this critical topic. Today I'm going to talk about Kyrgyzstan's gender equality strategies in water sector. I would focus I would shortly give background information of main problems women face in water sector and its challenges and barriers, causes that exclude women or discriminate women in water sector, and then give a quick analysis of Kyrgyzstan's gender strategies, as well as to give some conclusions and suggestions and resources on the topic. Despite this, shortly talking about the background, despite this, that women are half of the population of Kyrgyzstan, and they are like half of the population of the rural areas, and equally engaged in the agriculture. They are hugely underrepresented in the local and regional and national levels. As you can see in the parliament, there is only 20% of women represented. There are no representation of women in district areas, and only 9% of water users associations are women represented, only by 9%. But however, there are some examples that we have, some positive examples. Here you can see these my senior colleagues, Gulmira Satumkulova and Indira Akbozova. They are both are the leads of the Chutalas Commission Secretariat. So as you can see here, they are the co-directors from both sides, from Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan. It's a joint commission. However, here in the book of written by Jennifer Serin, she took an interview with the commission, and you can see that the participation of the directors and the secretariat is not really in a meaningful active participation and decision making, despite being at this high level. And so why it is so, like why is this happening? And there are some structural, political, cultural context the causing underrepresentation of women, and here they are. Cultural gender norms, gender socialization. Most of the time, girls in rural areas, women, they grow up shy and hesitant, so with interacting with non-family member men, so that kind of holds them in active participation in the water allocation level or water users association levels, or talking even with the MIRAPs, the person who is responsible for water allocation in small rural areas, because they are mostly men. And second reason is the social status of women. It's for the same reason as there are these some barriers in interaction with, for example, unmarried women, or a woman where a household where there is no men in the household. They face also the same issue, that they don't actively, or they cannot actively participate and speak up whenever they need water for their lands and irrigation. Structural context, here the traditional structure of the management, of the administration, of the water users association are favor men, and there are no conditions or no environment built for a woman. For example, a woman, they are in charge of, in rural areas, for example, they are in charge of the household or children, and they don't have time to participate in the WUA meetings. But not all women face the same issues or issues. There's the generational differences. For example, elder women, or they face fewer barriers in participating in the management, or even in the water sector, like in the projects. And then comparing to young or early career women. Educational system, as it was mentioned, the water sector here in Central Asia is mostly male dominated, and that this kind of holds, or girls are not empowered to, or not motivated to go to the water sector that is male dominated, or even if they go, they face some discrimination in the field working, that holds their potentials. Lastly, economical. So women, even they are working in the sector, they sometimes they get also lower positions or less paid positions comparing to their male colleagues, as we have seen in the example of Chutalas Commission. So what is Kyrgyzstan doing to tackle this issue? And I have analyzed the policies that Kyrgyz Republic is doing in gender issues. So I have analyzed the policies from almost from the gaining independence from 1996 till now. And good thing is there were not so many policies to analyze. But the bad thing was that there are no such policies mainstreaming or addressing gender issues in a water sector. Unfortunately, despite all these gaps that we that I said before. Here in last two documents, I found some mentions of gender equality in the sector. So they were in the National Action Plan for Gender Equality from 2022 to 2024. There are these three articles mentioning quotas for female students at the higher education in agriculture, water, energy, and forestry sectors. Organizing online training seminars for women in water, advancing gender education for sustainable development, or in the second strategy, national strategy of Kyrgyz Republic to achieve gender equality until 2030. There are two mentions, conducting analysis and developing proposals on ensuring women representation in community organization for irrigation water. And they have just copied, I guess, copy pasted organizing online trainings again for women on water and land management. Wait, yeah. So there are no gender strategies for women in water sector, specifically in Kyrgyzstan. Yeah. So here are some conclusions. Quantity is not always an indicator of the successful gender problem addressing, even if you give quotas, but if there is no meaningful participation, so we need also not only quotas but meaningful participation, and we have to really reflect on the existing mechanisms, institutions, and norms from feminist point of view, meaning that that everyone has equitable opportunities, rights in all areas of their lives. Yeah. Policy implementation and ensuring accountability. So not only gender sensitive or gender, I know, it should be changing the narrative into gender responsive water policies. That means beyond raising sensitivity and awareness, there should be real actions to actively address the gender mainstreaming. Capacity building, empowerment, and leadership programs for all women. And here, by all women, I would say that all women, women from the marginalized groups, all ages, and the background, and also I would here stress the importance of including men allies and decision makers into the dialogues and trainings on gender mainstreaming. We should not be alone, and here by achieving the gender equality. And here I have a brilliant example of or a case study. Here is our Women in Water Diplomacy Network. We have our male champions there, and also the Women in Water Management Network in Central Asia and Afghanistan is also involving women who work in water sector, but also with different kind of backgrounds, and as well senior colleagues and early career water specialists as myself. And learning from best regional practices here, as it was mentioned, the Uzbekistan gender strategy for water management and equality. I think that should be also as an example for Kyrgyzstan to move forward on the gender equality policies. And here I would really strongly recommend these documents that I also used for preparing this presentation, but also they are really well prepared and with different kind of guidelines, with scientific study and research. Yeah, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Miriam, so much. So I would maybe keep the questions for discussion session or the last Q&A session. But yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing the resources. I think that's always important because the other people could use it and further read about it more. So our next speaker is from our, let's say, sister project, Lili Oftenbrinke. She is consultant at Adelphi, and she is also representing the Retouch Nexus. So Lili, the floor is yours. Please feel free to tell us more about the topic.
Yes, thank you very much, Melissa, for the introduction. So my name is Lili, and I'm working at Adelphi. This is a Berlin-based think tank. And as you mentioned before, I'm also part of the Retouch Nexus project. And there we focus on 6 European case studies, focusing on WEFI Nexus topics, and also how to best deal with different challenges regarding the water sector, water scarcity, water availability, in 6 European case studies. And yes, when Maria, you showed the picture of her in the beginning, asked me if I would like to contribute, I was also thinking a bit, okay, what have we learned? What have we done so far in the project? And of course, there are some lessons learned, which I would like to show in the end. But another example from another work experience or context came to my mind, which I would like to present today. That's why the title of my presentation is From India to Europe, Water Management as Door Opener for Female Empowerment. And I've put a question mark in the end because I would like to come back to that question in the end after my presentation. So yeah, I would like to start with an introduction, with a project, with an example from India, from the so-called Jal Sahelis. And I'm curious who of you also know what the Jal Sahelis are or are firm or familiar with the region of Bundelkhand. So everyone who's here can maybe write in the chat if he or she is firm and familiar with it. And otherwise, I would like to start with this picture. So Jal Saheli is a term which can be translated as water friends. And as you see here in the picture, this is a group of women from rural areas and villages. And the aim of Jal Sahelis is to manage and to conserve water and to fight also for water rights. Because we're here in Bundelkhand in India, that is a very drought-prone region. Of course, you have the monsoon time, but apart from that, water is very, very scarce. And you have a lot of villages in this area, so it's mainly rural dominated. And yeah, it was a project from Waldhungerhilfe in collaboration with the European Union and also with a grassroots organization, Parmasama Sevi Sansan, and I was with them in total 2.5 months, but with the grassroots organization in 2019 for 1 month, and also accompanying them in their field work, having interviews with the Jal Sahelis. And that was very, very insightful because the basic idea of the Jal Sahelis is that they get involved in different activities in order to safeguard water. So as I mentioned before, these regions are very, very drought, and you find a lot of fields and crops that need to be harvested, which need water. And the idea of empowerment was to go through the water perspective and to start very, very basic with digging a hole and collecting water from monsoon time, which can be used afterwards for the fields. And in the beginning, I think there was a process which took a very, very long time. In the beginning, these female groups, the Jal Sahelis, weren't very recognized. Like often other people in the village were maybe even laughing at women like, okay, what are they doing? I really don't know, but I also don't care. And it took time to really see, okay, how they established themselves, how they also empowered themselves through the actions on the ground, for example, through digging wells in their village, desilting ponds, building check dams, rainwater harvesting, installing repair and hand pumps. And of course, it was also accompanied by capacity building, mainly provided by this grassroots organization, but also by World Hunger Aid. And in the end, it was also mentioned before by my other keynote speakers here, this empowerment of women can't happen in isolation. We really need to get back from this empowering group of women to the broader community of the village. And as you can see here, this is also one of women from the group, from the Jal Sahelis, speaking up to the broader village community and presenting or explaining what they have done so far, what is planned for the next month. And this is really, for me, myself, a best practice example, because I was joining these different villages, and I was also talking to different people there, and it took time. This was, of course, a learning. But over the years, they could establish themselves as a recognized group of women, participating more in the village life, having their own their own strength, their own activity regarding water management, safeguarding water. And I think that was a very great step forward, an example how things can work out when we take into account the context and when we see, okay, where do we have the opportunities here? And I thought it would be nice if you would like to listen how Jal Sahelis or reunions of Jal Sahelis sound. I can highly recommend listening on Spotify to a project so-called Faraway Friends. And this was a music group or project they built during this journey. So we were together for 1 month, also traveling around. And this was a music project they were with us doing the meetings, and they also recorded when the groups sang together. And I think it's also a nice way to get an idea of how the Jal Sahelis work and what immense of energy and spirit is also within this group. So coming from this best practice example, I would also like to look at our WeTouch project, which I mentioned in the beginning, and to see where do we have entry points here for female empowerment. And first of all, this is very much linked to the Jal Saheli example. It's important to recognize a different case study context, because every context is different in the European case studies, but also abroad. We heard today from Kyrgyzstan, from Uzbekistan. And first of all, there's the understanding. We need to understand how these contexts work. What kind of opportunities do we have there? What kinds of difficulties are structural? How can we overcome this? So I think, first of all, recognizing what is there and identifying entry points is the first step, which we also did in our project. And the second one is providing and finding alternatives. And so the generation or age dimension was mentioned here before, and this is also something we experience in our project. So sometimes when you struggle to include more female stakeholders because they are always the same rounds of people and it's hard to integrate more female participants, sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's also worth it to reach out to a different medium. For example, we are about to launch a new podcast series, and podcast is, of course, a medium which is also used by a younger generation. And by trying to move away from some formats or activities which we used to do in the past to new entry points, this is also something we consider very valuable. Another example are VR glasses. One case study, they developed a game, a VR game, and they are also adapting it to the Retouch Nexus context, going into schools, into universities, and addressing also here a broader spectrum of people. And last but not least, enhancing female visibility. I'm sure we're doing it today with this webinar or with a series in total, but also, for example, with LinkedIn posts. We had an interview series from the Retouch Nexus side on behalf of the International Women's Day, but not only on days or occasions like these, it's important to stay visible, to ask questions, and to also raise the voice and be confident in how or who we are and what we know. And with this, I would like to come to my conclusion. And yes, it's a positive one, because I really think that water management can be a real door opener for empowerment of women, and it's implemented in a context-specific manner, in a broader time perspective, and in close cooperation with the target group and its environment. I'm pretty sure that it's a good door opener, or it can be function as one. Yes, thank you so much. With this, I would like to close my short presentation, and I'm happy to receive more questions together with the others in the panel and Q&A session.
Thank you, Lily, so much. Thank you for rounding this cross-continental experience. I think that we brought so many from so many different sides our experiences to these talks and presentation. So right now, I would like to go to our next session, which is discussion session. And first of all, I would like to ask all of our presenters, do you maybe have something from all of our presentation that you would like to start with? Like some questions internally, some points to raise and to discuss on it? Or you want me to share some questions with you and then, to comment on that? Yes, Lily.
Thank you very much. I have a question for Dinara. For the first presentation she gave, because I found it very interesting, the fact that the water sector in general maybe is not perceived as that attractive, but I was wondering if this was one of the reasons why you think this can be especially an entry point also for female empowerment, because there is still a lot to do, a lot to achieve, and it's maybe not that set of fix, or in other cases or sectors which are maybe a little bit more attractive. So my question is a little bit, is this something that's hindering the female empowerment, or something that is strengthening the female empowerment in the water sector? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I don't know. I think it can be both. I just felt uncomfortable to have this campaign attracting more young related institutions and telling them that, but to be honest, by the end of your career, you don't have much options to build your excellent careers it would be in other areas and sectors. So I think it's really a very complex issue that has to be addressed in different layers and levels. I don't know if it's opportunity, but it's always we see the opportunities for women when it's something difficult, and that's why if you go there and work hard, then this is opportunity for you. If considered in this way, yes. it is opportunity, and probably it's a good chance that if you will be working harder, you will have more chances to succeed. But I mean, it's a in general social and economic problems. So it has these gender layers, but it's just layers that has to be kind of broader. And that's why it's very important to discuss gender issues together with other social and economic issues as a part of the deeper analysis, because gender is just one aspect. When we talk about the old and younger generation, about rural and urban, right, about the different sectors, so it's all gives all these layers. We cannot say just women from the city, etc. So it's kind of complicated. So I don't know if I can provide the simple answer, but yes and no.
Okay, does anyone else want to bring something? Jinshui?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much for this very interesting talk. I think as a working water professional, I think some of your points are really inspiring for me. Also, some dimensions I've never thought about. So maybe one question to both Dinara and Miriam. You both mentioned quota, but I think Dinara, you mentioned another dimension, which is not only have women, have men have to work in the water sector, but also to improve their competence of women in working or feeling comfortable working in their professions. But back then, I just can refer my experience at the university, because I also have some roadmaps to increase female professors, for example, and to have some certain quotas. And do you think quota is still important in improving the gender equality in water sector?
It's again, it's sometimes, it depends how we implement it. It can be implemented in very different way. And from the Soviet history, I know that they were very useful in ensuring the representation of women, but they were supported also by social and economic infrastructure. In the Soviet system, what we had the women's quota in different areas, but to enable them to do this job and to be engaged in water field, we also have kindergartens and school nearby these plants. So it's something that's supporting, fulfilling this quota. It allows you not only to be quantified as a woman in certain plant or area, but also to implement this having baby and the kindergarten next to your door. So it's socially easier for her to implement this. And another example from our days, I know that there is the system of Institute of Quota in the Parliament of Uzbekistan. And recently we had a new election for the parliament. So it's the next, I don't know how you call it, the next whatever of the parliament of Uzbekistan, yes. And we were preparing the water code, and I saw many deputies from the parliament from the previous cohort and now. And I can tell you that the quality transformed into quality. Initially, it was just probably they were selected as women only, but having the ability to be more engaged and exposed to that kind of activities, now I see that they're much more prepared, much more trained, much more skilled for this job. So it will take time, probably. It won't be immediately that we have the best qualified women filling these quotas, but it will take time. So I see the positive sides, even though I'm kind of, as a woman, I'm so much against of these quotas just for me as a being women. Mentally, I cannot accept it, but I see that it's working.
Thank you so much.
I would also shortly say something. My answer would be also similar to what Ms. Ganshina said. I think if quotas are good, like, but if we have, I think we should provide with the quotas, we should provide additionally the environment and like to socially and in the environment to build these not equal but equitable opportunities. Yeah, that's what I would add.
Thank you so much to both of you. Also, I found it interesting, Dilara, you mentioned that there was a quota in the Soviet Union. Yeah, I didn't think about it. But yeah, definitely the supporting infrastructures like kindergarten and so on are super important also. So this is not only a gender layer, but also, as you said, a socioeconomic whole kind of thing to support to increase or improve the equality here. So yeah, and I would like maybe coming back a little bit to the WeAct project, what we can also together with Retouch Nexus. I think Lily, you mentioned a few things that we're already working on in the gender dimension in Retouch Nexus. So back to our WeAct project, what we can learn from what Miriam and Dinara just talked about, and also from Retouch Nexus. Maybe you can give us some directions that we can also help with the regional strategy on genders. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Thank you for the question, Jingshui. I think my first recommendation is to start small because this is a big, a huge topic. And as I wanted to show the example from the Jalal Sahelis, this is also something that took a long of time. It needed a lot of trust, and it was not built from one day to another. And I think this time component we also have to take into account in Retouch Nexus, because these are projects which are limited to 3-4 years in general. And always the question is, okay, what can we do within the scope of time? And I think, first of all, we need here the cooperation and openness from our case studies to also be aware of their context, to see or already to analyze, okay, where do we have difficulties in terms of including women, where is a lag, which can we improve? And I think this is something where you just need regional expertise. This is nothing we can also do on as Adelphi in this project. As I said, we are Berlin-based. We are very much engaged with the case studies for stakeholder engagement, but we are not the experts for the regions. These are the case studies and their stakeholders on their own. But I think depending also on the case studies, how much understanding they have of their context, it's easier to develop some alternatives, some projects, or some entry points where we see, okay, here, this is a chance where we can enhance the visibility or the engagement. And on a project level, what worked very well for us are these alternative projects. For example, the podcast series, because you can reach a lot of different people, and it's not bound to some specific gremiums where people always have their seats and it's hard to get in. This is like something open source, which everyone can access. Or when you go to schools and to universities, you mentioned it yourself, Jingshui, with the example of your baby and the one of your colleague. I mean, there's no difference when they're babies. And as earlier we start also with awareness. Maybe sometimes it's also need awareness that there isn't that much differences, because we are focused on a lot of, okay, we need to get like female recognition empowerment at the same level as men, but when we start, okay, with a common understanding that we are equal, I think it's also a great entry point to go to school, to go to universities, to talk to a younger generation. And the water sector is for me a lens through which we can tackle these challenges. I mean, there are different angles you can use for it, but water is something we all use, water is something we all need, and that's why it's so universal. And that's also a reason for myself why I think this is a great sector, a great angle where we can influence and enhance a lot regarding female empowerment. Yes, thank you so much. I hope I could give some incentives, but I'm also happy to take up bilaterally afterwards, also with everyone interested.
Thank you so much, Lily. Yeah, I've learned a lot from Retouch Nexus, and I think you mentioned the younger generation, and that is a good point. I think in our project, in some of the trainings and stakeholder meetings, we could also consider the younger generation in terms of raising awareness of its gender dimension. Yeah, thank you so much. What about Dinara or Miriam? Do you have some good advice too?
Yeah, you can go. Sorry. So first, if you think about some strategies for international organizations or international projects working in Central Asia, then I would mention some points. First, it's maybe engaging in your activities more women. And I know there are some, so when you're working with the government bodies, you send them an invitation, and then they will sign a person who will be attending your event. Maybe there we could start from small action, like demanding a female water specialist from the stakeholder side. And then maybe the second would be making a space or a platform to raise the gender inequality topics or issues, and really involving the other side, the male stakeholders. Because even if the women are empowered, even if I am working in the water sector, there will be some barriers that are coming from the male colleagues, or like going into the that's it. Really working with engaging both sides, but from different angles, I would say. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Yes, yeah, definitely. We should. I think it's a good advice that we can even demand female participants in our stakeholder meetings, for example, to reach a goal of more female or gender equality in our stakeholder engagement. Thank you. What about you, Dinara?
I agree with the most that was said, and I think it's very important not exclude men for that kind of discussion. When we started in 2004, our gender network, it was initiated by two men who noticed these problems, and just us talking to each other that how unequal or how limited access we have. So it's not useful, I guess. Probably it's useful in some respect, but we really have to engage both women and men and see differences. And I would say you that the advice that was given to me 20 years ago by one lady who taught me the several classes on gender mainstreaming. When I asked what I'm supposed to do, it's not my area of expertise, so you have to be skilled or taught in this respect. She said, do simple things. First, exclude main month. Make it person months. So change your language from the main dominated language, and then include in your budget. Make your budget gender sensitive as much as you can. And the next thing that she told me, just talk to both women and men when you want to have ideas on your project, on your program, on the needs, and you will see that the different things will come from these people, from different people, not only related to their professional background, but also related to their biological differences, because they have different needs. It's not because someone is better, someone is wiser. No, it's just the physical biological differences, and they pay attention also mentally to different things because they have a different needs. So this is kind of very simple things that we all can do in all projects, in all activities, and it doesn't require much from us. And I think it will be certain steps in improving the situation in general.
Thank you so much, Dinara. Yeah, it's so important also to discuss this topic, not only in a women round, but also with men. And I guess we also have some men audience here. I know that probably Timo is also joining. Yes, definitely. I think they bring in also different perspectives. I mean, it's not that they are against of gender equality or women representation in water sector. But they might have a different perspective also because of biological difference, as you also mentioned. So I think it's nice maybe next time we especially include also a man talking about this topic together. And we might also learn some new perspectives. Yeah. Yeah, I think what you also mentioned very importantly, what I also learned in the university, as we are also quite man dominated, is learning to talk in man language and also knowing what you want in this, yeah, in the world and how to achieve it in a feasible way, as you said, that to include in our budget, in the project and so on. So yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I think I can hand back to Melissa now, probably.
Thank you so much. I think everyone enjoyed this like really spontaneous, but in the end discussion, a real round table. Okay, we have one Q&A because yeah, we need to start to go into that part of the webinar because we are getting close to the end. So we have one question in the Q&A. It is from Tamara Avelan. She said, "Hi there, Tamara Avelan here. A little shout out to Jovan and Vladimir for Innocence. Thanks for hosting this interesting webinar. I'm sorry I missed the first part. The importance of the context is crucial. I can echo Dinara's statement about supporting system in the former Soviet system countries. We can see significant differences in the engagement of women in our research activities from the former Soviet countries, in the contrast to former Western Bloc countries. Gender imbalances prevail, and the more technical the project, I found, the more difficult it is to include and even raise awareness to the gender-sensitive working modalities. I was wondering if any of the panelists have also encountered this later issue and what strategies they have maybe implemented to overcome this. Can someone maybe give the answer?
I mean, I can start thinking out loud because honestly, I didn't had or faced exactly the situation, but I think it's a very good question because this is probably the structural part of it. When you have structures in place for a long time, then especially when it's coming to the technical area, which is until today very much perceived as a mainly dominated working space. It's harder after all to find the space as a woman. I don't know. My intuitive reaction to it would be trying to install groups within. I don't know who can support or where different female workers can support each other. But this is like nothing from experience. It's like more from what I can imagine or envision immediately, trying to build up a space where you also feel comfortable, starting small, and searching for the integration with other groups. As Dina mentioned before, we can't leave out the men. They are a crucial part of it, of the whole process. But maybe we have some experience in the audience here, because I also read a lot of comments from the people listening to us. So if you had experience here, I would love to pass on also the question to you, or maybe Miriam, Dinara, if you would like to add.
Yes, people that are attending the webinar, you can raise the hand. So if you if you want to comment something, and then we can give you the right. So if you want to add on, please. Because I was checking who registered for the webinar, and actually I think that we have from almost all continents expert from the different sphere of the water sector. So maybe someone else can jump in with their experience. Okay. If there is no more questions, if there is no more comments, I would like, first of all, to thank you, all of you, like especially our panelists for today. I hope this is not our last session. I hope that we can work this through and actually improve and maybe have some more discussion. So thank you so much for taking your time, for investing, for giving us your perspective, which is really important. And I see in the comments that people are really inspired, enlightened by this, and we are too. And I think that this was really valuable for the VIACT project as well, to get some insights. Hopefully for all of you was really inspiring and resourceful. So Yingshui, if you want to say something, or if any of you want to say something, please feel free.
No, just thank you again, and Melissa, for organizing this very inspiring webinar. I think it's so nice that we sit together here and just talk about the topic, and it's just part of raising awareness. And I'm sure that you've recorded the webinar, and maybe we can also disseminate later in the LinkedIn. I think it's also to give more visibility of the gender strategy in Uzbekistan, and also what you've done in Kyrgyzstan. So that would be really nice. And thank you again. I mean, you're right, that should not be the last session that we've done here. We should continue this very interesting discussion. Thank you so much also to all the speakers, and hopefully see you again soon in the WIACT project meeting or other collaboration opportunities. Thank you so much.